Thank you for joining JTV News. I'm Peter Gay Coombs. In the news, new work permit fees back in play. Virgin Islands Technical School drops jaws with academic stunner.
The work is no easier than any other campus. I might feel to say that we might be even harder because our students complain that they didn't come here to do no hard work.
Communications and Works Minister responds to call for number portability.
Madam Speaker, it's not as simple as it sounds.
It's simpler than it sounds.
The number of numbers that we have in this country, if I put it on a piece of paper, I could fold it up and stick it in one pocket.
UK Prime Minister misread the tea leaves.
Now let's get to work.
Theresa May is a dead woman walking.
And fatherless fathers.
Because I've never really met my biological father until I was actually 25, and then when I met him for the first time, there was some confusion there whether or not he is my real father. So out of that, I knew what I wanted as a young man growing up, and I wanted to give that to the boys.
The big story this week, the BVI's top cop tells us about his crime plan. Later in Hot Trends, Village Key is the place to be this summer. In Caribbean news, Panama broke up with Taiwan and they didn't even know it. Grenada plays nice with Airbnb, and political heat prompts general elections in Bermuda. In our Medical Minute segment, having concerns about e-cigarettes, Dr. Geronimo Jones tells us more in our Mayo Clinic Medical Minute. These and much more on the other side of this break.
This is us. This is how we work. This is how we play. This is how we live. This is us. This is how we flow.
Welcome back to JTV News. In the aftermath of a 2-month review since the April announcement of its planned implementation the following month, the new work permit fee structure will take effect on July 1.
A statement by Deputy Premier and Minister of Labour Dr. Kedrick Pickering on June 14 reminded that the existing fee structure has been in place since 1981, adding that, quote, "We have carefully considered the expressed views and have weighed them against our objective of rationalizing our very dated fee structure and our current process of improving service and efficiencies within the Labour Department prior to the determination of the new implementation date," end quote. According to the Minister of Labour, the new work permit fee structure is progressive and based on income. He further states that the Labour Department has reduced the processing time for work permit renewals and is now introducing online check for work permit status. The new work permit fee structure was initially slated to be introduced on May 15. Concerns from the business community about the timing of the implementation and the rate of increase resulted in a review. The increase will see domestic workers paying 1% of their annual salary, persons who make up to $25,000 3%, work permit applicants earning above $25,000 up to $50,000 5%, and those above that salary band 7%, with a cap of $10,000 and any charges applied to applicants in higher bands. During his announcement back in April, Minister Pickering also pointed to plans to introduce less paperwork via a one-page sheet for work permit renewals, which the government aims to have completed in 2 weeks, while new applications are targeted for completion in 4 weeks. A new application fee of $50 is to be applied, in addition to the $75 charged for work permit cards.
Virgin Islands School of Technical Studies is a local technical high school designed for students who are interested in developing skills that will enable them to pursue trades and become productive citizens. But 3 years later, are they achieving their objectives?
The purpose of the Virgin Islands School for Technical Studies is not always seen for what it is. Many believe it's a school for children who have dropped out of high school. Not the case.
Okay, here at the Virgin Islands School of Technical Studies, we run 3 programs, one in hospitality, culinary, and tourism, the other in auto mechanics, and the third one is cosmetology. We differ from all other schools in that we only carry 3 technical programs that are different from any other secondary school. The other secondary school would have technical programs such as woodwork, metalwork, electronics, and the like. But we do those 3 that is common only to our school. Students here at this school do the same core subjects, maths, English, science, electives, computer science, and all the like all other secondary schools. We do the same industry subjects along with customer service and entrepreneurship, as we are a service-oriented school.
But according to the school's acting principal, Ms. Jermaine Scatliff, the Virgin Islands School for Technical Studies has rescued children who were struggling in high school.
Even though we did not have a high percentage pass as the other schools, we did great because we did wonders with students who were about to drop out from Elmo Stout, students who had behavioral problems and what have you. And we have molded those children into successful young people, even though we have some of them who did not meet full requirements. They only need the exit exam, or some of them might not just need English alone. And I know we are on the road to better things here at the Virgin Islands School of Technical Studies.
Virgin Islands School for Technical Studies is now 3 years old and waving their flags higher, having produced the territory's top student in the 2017 National School Leaving Examinations.
Now, we have here at our school this year the top student, Miss Kiara John. Now, I expected no less of Kiara coming from Elmo Stout as an honor student. And we encourage her, and she was encouraged by her parents as well, to pursue this program here at the school without any prejudice. And I want to say to other parents and students, if your passion is any of these 3 subjects offered here, please come and do the subject, because the work is no easier than any other campus. I might feel to say that we might be even harder, because our students complain that they didn't come here to do no hard work. You know, they only come to do the technical aspect, but when they get the English and the maths, it's no less than any other secondary school. So any person who's saying that we are doing easy work over here, and maybe that Kiara doesn't deserve to be number 1, and she's number 1 because we are doing easy work, I want to say that is not the case.
I chose the program Hospitality, Culinary Arts and Tourism because I had a passion for the hospitality industry and no other secondary school offered that program. So I made the decision to come to this school, and now I got the chance to do something I really liked. I enjoyed all of my 3 years here, and at the end now it's kind of sad because I'm leaving here, but I'm just going on to higher works in the hospitality industry. It's truly a privilege to be the top of the territory because I know I worked hard, and there's always a saying, hard work really pays off.
So parents, if you have a child who's interested in any of the programs offered here at the Virgin Islands School of Technical Studies, do encourage them. Great place to be. For JTV News, I'm Kathy Richards.
Minister of Communications and Works Mark Vanderpool says his ministry is researching the introduction of number portability to the British Virgin Islands, which allows customers to switch telephone networks while keeping their numbers.
The Ministry of Communications and Works is currently conducting research on local number portability, which includes both technical and non-technical aspects to make it functional. Required legislative amendment where possible, and potential cost implications. Once this research has been completed, a decision will be made to determine whether or not to pursue the initiative as a territory.
What research are you doing on something that's routine throughout the rest of the world, especially the developed world?
We have for the last year or so have been discussing this with providers and also through the entire Caribbean region at our CANTO meetings, as all of the Caribbean countries are in the same vein wanting to make this a possibility. Madam Speaker, it's not as simple as it sounds.
It's simpler than it sounds.
Madam Speaker, because it involves the carriers who have numbers that they consider specific to them, and therefore they will have to make adjustments that allow numbers to be used across carriers, the codes that they use. Not impossible, but it has implications.
Minister Vanterpool was responding to questions posed by 3rd District Representative Julian Fraser in the House on June 13. Mr. Fraser, who has been unswervingly advocating for the implementation of the system in the territory, dismissed the minister's response and blamed one of the 3 local telecoms providers, Flow, for the hold-up. However, he didn't elaborate, and his allegation was not reinforced by the minister.
Madam Speaker, I like the minister. Let me put that out there. But I find it very difficult to listen to this. The regional is difficult. Madam Speaker, the number of numbers that we have in this country, if I put it on a piece of paper, I could fold it up and stick it in one pocket. Big United States, a host of other industrialized countries are doing it. And the one culprit, which is Flow, that's the one culprit really. You're talking about carriers.
CEO of the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, TRC, Guy Malone, previously told JTV News that the issue of number portability is on the TRC's 2016-2017 work plan and is to be discussed with local telecoms providers CCT Flow and Digicel. General Manager of Digicel, Kevin Gordon, also conveyed to our newsroom that while his company is ready to execute number portability when the time comes, the undertaking is expensive and is not commercially viable for telecoms firms. He added that not a lot of customers usually end up migrating from one provider to another. Number portability already exists in the Cayman Islands, the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, and the French West Indies.
June 18 is celebrated as Father's Day, a day when cherished fathers get to sit all day with the remote and flip through channels without a nag, but with showers of commendations, hugs, and kisses. However, this is not what is likely for many men simply because they have been an absent image in their children's lives. One man whose boyhood was affected by this scenario is now fathering the fatherless. Kathy Richards has that story.
Spread throughout the length and breadth of this territory are some real men, fathers living the true meaning of the word. And then there are the others, planted a seed but failing to provide the necessary nourishment for it to grow. The spin-off of this has multiple outcomes. While in many cases the cycle is repeated, especially by boys, some take a stand to prevent other boys from feeling the spang of not having their fathers there for them. One such person is Henderson Tittle. He never had the opportunity of knowing a man to call daddy until he was 25 years old. Today, he is giving boys of this territory a chance of not feeling the pains he felt growing up.
Well, male is more than a name, which stands for mentor and anointed leaders everywhere. It's also a concept and a passion, and it was born out of the need of wanted to be mentored, because I've never really met my biological father until I was actually 25, and then when I met him for the first time there was some confusion there whether or not he is my real father. So out of that, I knew what I wanted as a young man growing up, and I wanted to give that to the boys because I made a promise that I will be a better father than my father himself. And I'm glad that I run into a young man by the name of Mackenzie Baltimore, Sr., who have taken me under his wings. There are times it's not easy, it's very difficult, he will tell you, because I'm kind of determined young man, stubborn sometimes, but he have the patience and the love. So he's helping along the path and along this journey.
And he helped you?
A lot. He helped me a lot. I met him about 9 years ago. I first met Mr. Baltimore, and then we begin to talk about stuff. I begin to vent to him, and he provide the nurture, the guidance that I need at that particular time, because he have children of his own, older than I am. So it was easy for him to come alongside me and say, hey, you know what, man, you have to forgive your father, which was very difficult to do.
Mr. Mackenzie Baltimore, a true father himself, is also now working closely with Tittle and others through the Male organization.
I got on board because I saw the need of young men in this community, especially young men between the ages of 9 to 25. And
what were they lacking?
Most of it were manners, especially, and values, because some of them didn't have the father figure at home in their lives. So we were, Mr. Tittle and I, we were like the fathers to them, because we didn't want to see these young men go through any difficulties, so to speak, in their lives. Of course, they're going to have difficulties, but when they have their difficulties, we will be there for them. And we talk to the parent who were available, that is mom, dad, or whoever were their guardians in their lives. Actually, we meet every Saturday at 4. Our meeting place is the Altius Catliff, and we have our activities with them there.
And the work of Male continues. To you men who are doing the best you know how to live up to your responsibilities as fathers, cheers. And to the others?
It takes what? 17 positive affirmation after one negative word into that person's life. So if you're there, make sure that you offer words that can build, lift them up.
And for fathers, I said the acronym for father, F is to be faithful. A is to be available. T is to be a teacher. H is to be a helper. E is to be an encourager. And R is to be respectable.
For JTV News, Kathy Richards.
British Prime Minister Theresa May took a risky gamble and lost heavily when Britons cast their ballots on June 8.
Prime Minister May's efforts to secure her own mandate as she prepared to head into extremely tough Brexit negotiations by calling elections 3 years early resulted in her party paying a very high price at the polls. She's now engaged in intense negotiations with the Northern Ireland-based Democratic Unionist Party to eke out a governing majority, which according to observers may not succeed in plucking her from the thin ice she's skating within her own party.
What the country needs more than ever is certainty. And having secured the largest number of votes and the greatest number of seats in the general election, it is clear that only the Conservative and Unionist Party has the legitimacy and ability to provide that certainty by commanding a majority in the House of Commons. This will allow us to come together as a country and channel our energies towards a successful Brexit deal that works for everyone in this country. That's what people voted for last June. That's what we will deliver. Now let's get to work.
Theresa May is a dead woman walking. It's just how long she's going to remain on death row, and I think we will know very shortly. In other words, we could easily get to the middle of next week and it all collapses for her. Or if it doesn't, and I agree with Toby, there are many Tory MPs who don't want a leadership contest right now, it'll be delayed. But be in no doubt, look at this weekend. You've got the Leader of the Opposition coming on the programme as a sort of victor, and you've got the Prime Minister who's supposed to have won the election in hiding, and that speaks volumes about what's gone on in the election.
People voted for hope. Young people and old people all came together yesterday, very high turnout, huge increase in the Labour vote, and they did it because they want to see things done differently and they want hope in their lives.
Still to come on JTV News, in the big story, Commissioner of Police Michael Matthews responds to fears about crime in the territory. But first up, other news making headlines in the Caribbean.
Here in the Virgin Islands, we are blessed to live and work in paradise. Paradise just doesn't mean our tranquil blue waters and green hills. National Bank of the Virgin Islands defines paradise as any place or condition that fulfills your aspirations.
To me, paradise means knowing that I will have a financing partner when I'm ready to open my first business.
I feel confident that I can manage whatever life throws my way because I know my bank will be with me every step of the way.
That's why I choose National Bank of the Virgin Islands, the official bank of paradise.
My future's looking so bright, 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 with the official bank of paradise, paradise.
National Bank of the Virgin Islands, the official bank of paradise.
There was a major diplomatic earthquake in the region this week when Panama announced that it had severed ties with Taiwan in favor of China. Panama now says it's on board with the One China policy. China recognizes Taiwan as a breakaway province. Taiwan only became aware of the blow when China and Panama signed the agreement at a media briefing. Taiwan accused the Central American country of yielding to Beijing's money diplomacy. China is the second largest user of the Panama Canal after the United States. The government of Grenada has signed a Memorandum of Understanding MOU with the global home-sharing company Airbnb. Grenada's tourism minister says the signing of the MOU is part of ongoing efforts to maximize exposure of the tri-island destination of Grenada, Carriacou and Petit Martinique by tapping into new segments of the industry and providing Grenadians with opportunities to stimulate economic growth. Airbnb, whose business model has come under increasing scrutiny for allowing its clients to escape government regulations and fees, has reached a series of promising partnerships with Caribbean entities in recent months, including the U.S. Virgin Islands and the Caribbean Tourism Organization. Bermudans will go to the polls on July 18. The declaration by Premier Michael Dunkley preceded a no-confidence vote by the opposition Progressive Labour Party PLP. Dunkley condemned what he called politics of destabilization, but denied that his hand was forced by the PLP. The last general election was held December 17, 2012. The ruling One Bermuda Alliance OBA party won 19 seats to the PLP's 17. Will Puerto Rico ever get its wish of becoming the 51st state of America? A non-binding statehood referendum on June 12, the fifth in the country's history, suffered several challenges, including a boycott and low turnout. More than 500,000 people voted for statehood, while 7,800 voted for association or independence, and 6,800 votes were cast for territorial status. Puerto Rico has been in a recession for the past 10 years and recently filed for bankruptcy-like protection. Its governor, Ricardo Roseo, said after 100 years of citizenship, the territory is treated second class.
Coming up next on JTV News, the big story, Commissioner of Police Michael Matthews tells us about his plans for crime. And in Hot Trends, Sophie B is on the buzz with what's cooking at Village Key this summer.
This is us. This is how we work. This is how we play. This is how we live. This is how we flow.
If you're looking for extra savings and free benefits
with car insurance
and home insurance,
Colonial has just the cover you need.
There's a free $250 gift voucher for new home insurance customers too, and 10% car insurance discount if you have home insurance.
With a claim service that's quick and friendly.
We call it cover without added costs.
Call for a quote on 494-8450 or Virgin Gorda 495-6403 or visit cgigroup.com.
Colonial, where people come first.
Welcome to TAA. We provide 24-hour roadside assistance on Tortola. We help provide freedom and peace of mind to our members throughout the island. TAA has you covered for all kinds of roadside problems, from minor mechanical first aid to helping you change your tire. TAA provides access to an impressive and ever-expanding range of innovative and reliable services that allow you to drive with confidence. Membership starts at just $99 per year. TAA offers exceptional emergency roadside service and repair. Contact us today to find out how you can become a member. Becoming a member is simple and easy. Apply online today at taaroadside.com. Tortola Automobile Association. Safety on the road.
Welcome back to JTV News. In this week's big story, Police Commissioner Michael Matthews discusses crime and talks about where the RVIPF is at as it relates to prosecuting the 6 murders of 2017. Crime. No one really wants to talk about it, but it's a daunting reality that we all face. Now, here in the British Virgin Islands, 6 murders in the first 6 months of 2017. It's the highest on record since the 9 recorded in 2008. Now, to help us understand on the big story what the RVIPF is doing to ease the fear of residents, we have joining us Commissioner of Police, Michael Matthews. So welcome to the big story, Commissioner.
Thank you.
All right, let's dive right in. Now, in December of last year, there was a public outcry, or at least in the latter part of last year, the public outcry increased. And by the end of the year, there were 4 murders. There seemed to have been an increase in gun crimes. And residents think that the situation is out of control. However, you feel differently. How do you justify your assertion that has been made elsewhere in the media that things are really not out of control when people feel differently?
Well, first of all, let me say that one murder is one murder too many anywhere in the world, let alone for a small territory like ours. So I don't belittle the figures in any shape or form. But factually speaking, what I've said is that when I hear reports that crime is out of control, factually speaking, crime is going down in the territory and has been for some time. Last year we recorded a 4% reduction in overall recorded crime. This year we're already on an 8% reduction and the trajectory is going downwards. We're also seeing more detections. Our detection rate last year peaked at 53%. That means that 53%, 53 out of every 100 offenders in this territory were being dealt with by the courts or being prosecuted in some form by the police service. Now that's not a bad record, but we can do better. But of course, what creates anxiety with our communities are the more serious crimes. It's all well and good me sitting here and saying, well, you know, thefts are down, breaking into cars are down, house burglaries are down. People want to know what I'm doing about keeping them safe from the very small group of dangerous offenders who are coming into our communities and using extreme violence. Now, as you've quoted, there's been 6 murders this year already, and my heart goes out to the victims and to the families of these most recent cases. But of course, I don't look in isolation at just the 6 cases. I have to look at all of the victims that have suffered at the hands of killers in this territory. We've been researching back as far as 2000, 2001 to see what that picture looks like. The sad picture that emerges is there's been 56 murders since 2001 in this territory. 56. And there's only a population of some 34,000 people here. So for me, that's quite a high number. Now, if there is any good news to come out of that figure, we have charged offenders in 29 of those cases. So again, we are catching over half of the offenders that are out there and committing these terrible crimes. That's relatively good news, but what about the victims that still haven't been caught, the offenders that haven't been caught, and the victims of those crimes? Well, I never give up on victims and their families. And I promised last year, during, as you said, some of that public outcry, that we would be looking back as well as looking forward. So 6 weeks ago, Without making a big fuss and noise about it, I brought in extra detectives into the territory from the UK, all experienced officers, all experienced murder detectives, and they've been working alongside my murder team, and they've been doing what we call cold case review, looking back on those murders that are still undetected from the past, but also assisting in the current inquiries. Of course, it's a tragedy every time there is one murder in this territory, but the question I think we need to be discussing is it's not just about solving a crime, it's not just about solving a murder. This is about addressing a mindset that is prevalent in the society here, where some believe it's acceptable to carry a gun. Some believe it is acceptable to beat a woman in the street. Some believe it's acceptable to beat their children, leaving extreme injuries. There is this prevailing attitude in some minds in the territory that we have to change. And the police service can't do that alone. We can't be the panacea to all of the problems here.
Okay. Commissioner, and you said that you guys have brought in some expertise. What has been circulating in talks among communities is the fact that persons believe that for most of the cold cases, the perpetrators of those crimes does not exist within the British Virgin Islands. Is this something that you have been dealing with?
There is absolutely clear evidence to show that in some of the cases the offenders have committed these dreadful crimes and then left the territory. I can give you an example where we know one offender that we wish to interview for a case of murder, a historic case of murder. We know where that individual is, they're in the United States, and we are talking to the US authorities about how we can work out getting access to that person and getting them back to the territory. Of course, we're very porous, we're a group of islands. It is very easy for people to leave the territory after a serious crime. It is also very easy for people to enter the territory and commit crimes. And again, we are aware that certainly in some cases involving murder, people have come in and been brought in from the outside just to commit that offence and then leave the territory again. Now, of course, they're extremely difficult cases to crack. There is natural pressure and anxiety that comes from the community and the media for the police to give immediate results. But sometimes it takes a long while before those results have become evident. What I am pleased about is that I get regular briefings on the progress of all of our inquiries, all of our live inquiries. And what I can tell you is just in relation to the 6 dreadful murders that have happened this year, of course you're aware that we have charged in 2 of those cases already, but in the 4 remaining cases we are making extremely good progress in some of those inquiries. And I still feel confident that the offenders should be looking over their shoulder, because we are very close to proving cases, not just recent cases, but previous cases, where I believe we're going to be able to provide sufficient evidence for the DPP to charge.
To follow up on that, what you said, you are very close in cracking some of the others, the 4 others for this year. What has led to that level of success? Is it the community's involvement that you've been appealing for?
We have certainly had far greater assistance from the communities than we were getting, but I still appeal for more. People still need to come forward. People need to say this is no longer acceptable. This is our country and we're going to take it back from the criminals. But yes, that has resulted in people providing information, providing leads, giving witness testimony to what they saw, what they heard. But more so, it's also about the forensic opportunities that we've exploited. We've benefited from additional funding from central government that has enabled us to increase our capabilities in certain areas. And whilst I can't say to you today, next week or the week after you're going to see us charging somebody for these particular murders, what I can say is that the briefings I'm receiving are looking extremely positive at the moment.
Did that additional funding have anything to do with the request from the governor? And part 2, what has that funding been used to do so far? I see some new cars going around, so tell us what's being done resources-wise.
Sure. Well, first of all, the government last year granted me the authority to recruit new officers, and that came with a substantial increase in funding from the government. The government also agreed to replace some of our existing vehicle fleet, and as you've mentioned, you're starting to see, and over the coming weeks you will see more visible police vehicles in the territory. That's a good news story in itself, because many communities have told me that the force isn't visible enough in the communities, and there's no doubt about it. I sometimes have trouble spotting my own officers out and about in the current vehicle fleet. This new fleet is going to be highly marked, highly visible, and it's my intention that we continue to do that to make sure the community do see us about. But on top of that, of course, as you say, the governor issued a warrant earlier this year as he was concerned about a number of security issues that had arisen, and that the funding wasn't sufficient to address those issues with the speed that they needed addressing. And certainly the additional detectives that I've just spoken about, as a result of that additional funding through the warrant, has meant that we could bring those additional resources into the territory, only on a short-term temporary basis, I hasten to add. This is not about bringing loads of expats in and taking local jobs. This is very temporary, very focused on a specific issue, and then they will leave the territory again. So it's a mixture, I suppose, is the answer to your question. I'm extremely grateful for the current government support. The Premier himself chairs the National Security Council, remains extremely supportive to the force. But of course, I equally enjoy a very supportive governor, and not always do governors see eye to eye with government and vice versa, but I see it as a partnership approach where together we're working out what needs to be funded, how it needs to be funded, and how quickly it can be done.
And definitely the community is saying government cannot do it all. And most recently we have a group of musicians coming together through the support of the Lions Club of Tortola to stage a big fundraiser, and more than just a fundraiser, they are advocating for peace and unity within the community. Do you think that this will really make the impact that they are expecting it to make?
Well, first of all, I'm delighted with that kind of community response. You know, this is exactly what we've been talking about, you know, are the community responding in support of fighting crime in the territory? And that support comes in a whole manner of ways, doesn't it? You know, from community meetings where I've had local people facilitate me come along and talk to communities, all the way through to evenings with members of the community, the elderly, through to something like this, which was community generated. And I think that's the key thing here. The guys who were organising this came to see me, and as you say, with the support of the Lions Club, and as soon as they told me what they wanted to do and the reasons why they wanted to do it, I was really enthused. Not just because I think it's a great initiative, I was just enthused that a group of young people, young musicians, want to get together and want to put a message out. And it goes back again to that message I said earlier, enough is enough. We don't have to put up with this, and that is the point. The community does not have to put up with this offending behaviour. We do need more people to understand that message, though, and through music, through role models and idols like some of our local performers are to the young people, it's a good way of getting a message across. Mm-hmm. The sad thing is, as we sit here today, there will be young people, and I say young people quite deliberately, although it's not exclusive to them, but there will be young people out there today who know that their friends are carrying guns, or that their friends are dealing in drugs to some of our young school children, or that they're using extreme violence in the home and they're saying nothing. And there is always this problem about, being seen to inform. The reality is that unless we all stand up together, united, this is going to continue. And I, for one, do not wish to see, another year like 2008. So, my message is, let's get together as a community, let's work together, police and community, and let's recognise this is not just the responsibility of the police to solve this problem.
All right, one last one before we wrap things up. Early on in the discussion, you spoke about the porous borders, and it's not the first time that I've heard you or anyone else in the territory speak about that. But is there a plan afoot?
We are about to, it's with the governor at the moment. I've written a draft 3-year plan for the ports, a strategic plan that would explain, it'll be a public document, it will explain to the public what we're going to do and attempt to do to tackle not just crime but security issues such as some of the open borders, because of course having open borders is an attraction as well for people. It's a big tourist attraction to be seen to be fairly free to move around our territory, and that's a positive thing. But the answer is yes. I'm working very hard with our head of customs and our head of immigration. We're in regular meetings where we talk about joining up our resources. Already we have joint patrols with customs and with the police service out on the water. So you have custom officers and police officers in the vessels together. But we're going to be doing more. Some of the funding that you spoke about earlier on has gone into refurbishing the police launch and making sure that our police marine capability has all of the equipment it needs to be able to respond to incidents on the water. And in addition to that, we are joining up our intelligence. So we're starting to share more and more information with each of the other agencies.
Shortly after that discourse with Commissioner of Police Michael Matthews, the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force disclosed that 2 persons were charged in connection with the murder of Franklin Foy. Kenaz Hazel, 21 years of age, of Purcell Estate, was charged with conspiracy to rob, while Rebecca Persad, 26, of Josiah's Bay, was charged with perverting the course of justice. On the night of January 6 of this year, owner Frankie Foy and patrons of Foy Boys Bar, also known as F&S Bar in Longlook, were held at gunpoint by a lone gunman. Foy was fatally wounded, while a patron at the bar was robbed of jewelry and money.
In today's Hot Trend, Sophie B tells us what's cooking at Village Key for the summer.
Right here on JTV Hot Trends, we love to tell you where to go to get something really tasty to eat. And one of my favorite places to go, of course, is Village Key Marina, #MyVillage. And they got some really cool combos going on down there now. They introduced these really fabulous combos for great prices. And of course, at Village Key now for lunchtime only, for only $15, you can get 3 combos. Combo number 1 is basically chicken wings. You get 6 pieces with fries and a drink. Combo number 2, you get a chicken wrap with fries and a drink. And combo number 3, you get a Caesar salad with garlic bread and a drink. Okay, isn't that fabulous? 3 wonderful combos for $15 at lunchtime. That's between 11 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. You can get those combos, as well as combo number 4, just for $20. You can get a medium pizza with 2 toppings, a basket of wings, and 2 drinks for dinner from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Just $20. Let me say that again. Combo number 4, you get a medium pizza with 2 toppings, basket of wings, and 2 drinks for only $20. Amazing stuff going on down there at Village Key Marina. So ladies and gentlemen, be sure to go on down there to Village Key Marina and choose from one of those lovely combos. I think I'm going to pick combo number 4 because that is awesome and I love pizza. All right.
Don't forget to check out Hot Trends Wednesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. on JTV Channel 55. Up next in our Medical Minute, should persons have health concerns about e-cigarettes? Dr. Geronimo Jones takes a look at this in the Mayo Clinic Medical Report.
Eureka, located in the British Virgin Islands. Come, discover Eureka Medical Clinic, which provides the most complete medical services in the Virgin Islands. Our state-of-the-art clinic offers the highest quality in specialty care, cardiology, gastroenterology, orthopedics, and spinal surgery. We also offer specialty care in obstetrics and gynecology, as well as dermatology. Eureka Medical Clinic offers diagnostic procedures such as x-rays, mammograms, CAT scans, and all forms of ultrasound exams. Now, for the first time in the BVI, Eureka offers MRI scanning too. With colonoscopy and gastroscopy, we check the intestines and stomach for polyps, colon cancer, and ulcers too. Located at Geneva Place in the heart of Road Town, Eureka Medical Clinic with Medicare Pharmacy and Labs offers you a comprehensive medical facility all under one roof. So for high-quality medical services and convenience, there's no need to look any further. Eureka! You found it.
E-cigarettes are big business. Some people who want to try vaping may have questions about safety. Right now, there's not a lot of definitive answers from scientific research about potential health risks. This may make it hard for some consumers to make decisions about use. One recent study from the University of California, San Diego reveals that e-cigarettes may be toxic to airways, cause inflammation, decrease immunity, and increase your risk of infections. Reporter Vivian Williams has more in today's Mayo Clinic Minute.
People who choose to use electronic cigarettes may have questions about the product's safety.
There is an increasing body of literature talking about the risks associated with electronic cigarettes.
Research from UC San Diego shows e-cigarettes are toxic to the airways, cause inflammation, dampen the immune system, and may make you more susceptible to bad bacterial infections. They studied this in mice.
I think we need to be very clear as clinicians that these electronic cigarettes have an unknown safety profile. They're not regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. They are not regulated by good manufacturing practices.
Mayo Clinic addiction expert Dr. John Ebert says because e-cigarettes aren't regulated, we don't know exactly what's added to the nicotine. We don't yet know all of the potential health risks. Research about the safety of e-cigarettes is ongoing. I'm Vivian Williams, and for more health news, visit the Mayo Clinic News Network.
Before we go, a brief look at the main headlines. Deputy Premier and Minister of Labour, Dr. Kedrick Pickering, says the new work permit fee structure will take effect on July 1. Virgin Islands School of Technical Studies buoyed by one of its students, Kira John, being awarded the top performing student in the 2017 secondary school leaving examinations. Communications and Works Minister Mark Vanterpool says research is underway to determine how to go about executing number portability in the territory, which allows customers to take their existing numbers when switching telephone networks. British Prime Minister Theresa May looks to coalition to stay afloat after devastating election results. Boys with absent fathers get a chance at being fathers through mail, thanks to Mr. Henderson Tittle and his team. The big story this week, Commissioner of Police Michael Matthews says in addition to arresting and charging 2 persons for 2 of the murders committed this year, the RVIPF is at the brink of cracking the 4 remaining cases. In Caribbean news, Panama severs diplomatic ties with Taiwan in favor of China. Grenada signs MOU with Airbnb and Bermudans to vote in general elections on July 18. Just a reminder that you can find all the news stories featured in this newscast, as well as previous newscasts, on our website jtvlive.net. Additional information and news updates can be found on our Facebook page, facebook.com/jtv55. If you haven't already, please visit our Facebook page to let us know that you like us. Of course, all our news features, press conferences, and JTV's television programs can be found on our JTV News YouTube channel. Subscribe for daily uploads. We welcome your questions and comments and story ideas. Email us at jtvnews@hotmail.com. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Peter Gay Coombs. Thank you for watching.